It's showtime!
Welcome to another episode of Victory Leaders Lounge podcast, where we talk about leadership and successful entrepreneurs and veterans come and tell their story. I hope you enjoy the show. Follow me. Let's go. This podcast is brought to you by Victory Leadership Coaching, your premier leadership training and coaching provider. You can learn more at victoryleadershipcoaching.com, and you can also purchase their book, Why Organizations Should Develop Their Leaders, a pocket guide at amazon.com. Enjoy the show. Hello, everyone. We're live on another episode of Victory Leaders Lounge, and today I have a great guest. She got me into some networking groups. She's connected in the business world and just an overall great person. Her name is Shannon Daniels, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. And
hello. Yes, thanks for having me on, JJ. Great to be here.
So tell us a little bit about you, your business, and kind of what you have going on, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. As I said, thanks for having me on. I am what I like to say, fully recovered sales and marketing executive. I come from the business world where I took my communication degree because I'm a communication nerd at heart. Just ask me about uncertainty reduction theory. I dare you. And so I took my communication degree and I used that out in the business world in sales and marketing roles, leading sales and marketing teams. And when I realized that I was just unhappy the higher I climbed the ladder, I decided to quit my job, start my own business, and here I am 10 years later. I work with professionals and executives and business owners to help find their authentic voice, share it with confidence, and really hone their message in the process of all of that. And I really do that. I'm really passionate about doing that because when I came out of the corporate world and became an entrepreneur, despite having a communication background, I was breaking every public speaking rule in the book, and I wasn't being my authentic self. I was getting up there giving perfect polished presentations, and people would say, "You're a great speaker," but then it just wasn't converting to anything. It wasn't landing. And I finally just said, F it. I'm going to be me. I'm going to talk like me. I'm going to share my story and my message. That's when I really started connecting with people. And so now I find a lot of joy in being able to help individuals do that, as well as go into organizations and train groups on doing that as well.
That's awesome. And as a matter of fact, you said something there that I would like you to elaborate on if possible. So you kind of briefly just stated something about the communication reduction theory. Can you tell us what
Uncertainty
that is?
reduction theory. Yep. What would you like to know about it?
Well, what is it?
So basically, in its most simplest form, as humans, we do not like uncertainty. We like to understand our world around us, to make sense of our world around us. And really what that comes down to is that leads us to biases and stereotypes and those, things that we just kind of make those split decisions. We start attributing meaning to things right away, whether it's right or whether it's wrong, because we want to reduce uncertainty in our world. And one of the easiest ways I like to explain it is that think about your brain as a filing drawer or a set of files on a computer. When we experience a new person, a new situation, a new task, whatever it may be, we file that away. And that becomes information that we draw from. Well, what if we're experiencing another new situation or a new type of person we haven't been to or a new culture? What we're going to do, because it's uncertain to us, it's scary, there's fear and anxiety around that, is we start rifling through those drawers looking for the most pertinent information to apply. And that information may not be right. It just may be the closest bit of information that you have to it. So we as humans like to reduce our uncertainty. We look for context and meaning and what information we have at our disposal, but it's not always the right context or meaning that we're attributing to a person or a situation, which can cause problems. But it also helps us fight or flight, survival, right? We're humans. We got to survive and we have to make those split decisions. So there's pros and cons to this, but it's important to raise your awareness that this happens and that we do like to reduce uncertainty, but to pause and ask ourselves, are we attributing the right meaning to this person, to this situation, to this culture, to this thing?
So this awareness, I think if we kind of take all of that into consideration, do you think that helps people with their anxiety when it comes to speaking?
It can be one of those things that helps people, yes, but that's not necessarily at the root of what helps people. That uncertainty, that fear, that anxiety around public speaking is because of uncertainty, right? It's because of certain fears that we have. What if I forget my lines? What if I make a fool out of myself in front of my peers? What if I forget what I'm supposed to say and freeze up? What if I just start sweating and shaking? All of these things, it's not really actually a fear of public speaking, which is, there's an actual word for that. It's called glossophobia, and that's the fear of public speaking. It's not really the fear of speaking. It's the fear of the repercussions of messing up or being judged or failing while you're speaking. There's always an underlying thing because we speak all day, every day. We speak to friends, we speak to family members, we speak to colleagues, right? And there's very few people that actually have a true fear of speaking. At the end of the day, it's a fear of failure or judgment that we have. And uncertainty is just one piece in that bigger puzzle that's there.
So really what you're saying, I just recently watched a Harvard Business Review presentation. It was an hour-long presentation that kind of covered what you're saying. And I don't know if you would agree with this, but the main reason behind the anxiety is you stated it a little bit, but the fear of what's going to happen tomorrow or in the future as a result of failing from that podcast. So is that kind of what you address when you're teaching people a lot about public speaking?
Yeah, I find for each person, it tends to be unique. There's similarities from person to person of where those fears come from. And a lot of times at the end of the day, it's that fear of judgment. You want to be perceived a certain way by your colleagues, by the people in your field. You want to be seen as an expert. You want to be seen as someone who's successful and has it all together. And you are maybe already seen that way, but you're afraid that by stepping on stage and messing up, it's going to destroy all of these things that you've built. And so, again, there's a lot of similarities in people's feelings around that, but then a lot of more specific reasons to each individual as to how they're perceiving that failure or what that failure looks like to them. But yes, it really comes down to that fear of judgment and how they're being perceived out in the world. And when you get up in front of an audience, you're bare, right? People are hearing you when you're live, you're bare. You mess up, there's no going back and getting a redo and erasing. You are on that stage, on that live stream, whatever it may be. And hey, one of the three core components of communication is communication cannot be undone. You can't strike it from the record and say, forget it. It's out there at that point in time.
So I'm just curious, what kind of approach do you take when you're coaching these people through? It might be the 3 C's that you just got done telling us about, but to kind of help people work through this and go out there and just be their authentic self and be a great speaker.
Yeah. The first is setting a baseline with people to get to know them, right? Who are you authentically? How do you naturally gesture? How do you naturally move? How do you naturally speak to me in a conversation and see who you are as a person? And then a lot of coaches will come in and try to train you to be the perfect polished speaker, like I was trying to be in that earlier story I told you, and not help you to be yourself. I'll give you an example. There was a CEO I was working with, He came to me about 2 weeks before a really big presentation that he had planned. And that presentation, he said, was going to be a make or break for the company. They needed to land this really big account to mush. There you go, messing up in the live stream, to push the company forward. Well, his initial approach with me was, I already have the presentation done. I just need some polish on the delivery and cleaning some things up. Great, let's jump into it. 2 weeks, no problem. As he started delivering to me, now keep in mind, I had taken a few times to get to know him, have conversations with him. He goes into presentation mode and becomes a different person. And I let him go for 3 or 4 slides, and then I stopped him. And I asked him a few questions. I said, first, who created this presentation? Was it you or someone else? And he said, well, my marketing team did. I said, I can tell. Second, he had told me that he doesn't like just being rambled onto about things. I don't care about the history and the this and the that and all the other things. Just get to the point with me. If you don't have me in 2 minutes, I'm gone. I'm on my phone and I'm ignoring you. And I said, you're doing exactly to other people what you don't want done to you. So why would you do that to someone else? And he said, you know what? You're right. And then there were a few other things that just didn't feel authentic to his voice, right? It felt very robotic and over rehearsed. And so we sat down and decided we're going to tear this entire thing apart and rebuild it from the ground up and make it his. He knew the customer. He knew what was important to them. He knew what they wanted and needed. And so we worked together to rebuild the presentation from the ground up so that he could share it in his voice and do it in a way that resonated and connected with the audience he was getting in front of. Because at the end of the day, you are not speaking to a room full of yourself. You're speaking to a room full of other people. So you have to understand them, what they want, what they need, what they care about, and make it all about them. And then add your stories and add you into it. So once we did that and he found his authenticity and shifted the presentation, he was able to go in there and nail it, close that deal. And that's one way I go about that. It's just really learning who you are as a person. What is your authentic voice? What is your story? And then who is your audience? Who are you trying to connect with? And then helping you take who you are naturally, the way you speak, the way you gesture, the way you move, and polishing that up. And the same with your content. And I have really 3 P's that I dig into for becoming a better public speaker and overcoming fear and anxiety. The first is preparation. I find most people do not prepare adequately or properly for a presentation. The second is practice. We think, read, and write much differently than we speak. And so we expect that the words we wrote out for this fantastic speech on a piece of paper are going to be how we communicate it. And then we trip over it over and over and over again because we don't speak that way. And so it's important to practice out loud and use different practice techniques for getting it down and having this brain that's a muscle have some kind of muscle memory, not memorization of your speech. Do not memorize, but to get that muscle memory. And the third is a power-ups, which are different things like power posing, breathing, and different activities and exercises that you can do to start to retrain your brain and be more prepared for stepping in front of a crowd and being confident with doing it.
Interesting. I love that. The 3 P's. If you come up with something as simple as the 3 P's, people will always remember it.
Yeah. And I didn't do it on purpose, but I get the question all the time. How do I answer the question, what do you do? And, we connected over this as well. And the what do you do ended up being 3 P's as well. So it just works. I guess I like 3 P's.
It works, and it helps if you're in a high pressure situation too. That if you need to remember it, you can always go back to the 3 P's.
Yep.
We did have a viewer make a comment here, which, by the way, anybody who's watching, I encourage that because it can help create conversation here with Shannon and myself. But Michael Hummel, one of my regular viewers, actually, he said, for me, it's authenticity energy, rapport, humor, and engagement.
Yeah,
I
those
think
are
that,
all very important.
and you know what?
Absolutely.
Actually, he's just recently been on stage. I was able to watch his speech on I can't remember if it was LinkedIn or if it was Facebook. Very good guy. He advocates to help people understand how to interact with others with disabilities, as he has a disability himself. He's a wonderful guy.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
So
And the
I
humor
think
piece is important too, that levity, but you shouldn't force it either. Don't force those funny moments. They'll naturally come.
so. Basically, just if it's part of your natural personality, don't try to force the things that don't come naturally because it'll make the whole presentation better, and people will get to understand who you are
Yep.
instead of understand whatever garbage it is that you're trying to portray.
Yep, absolutely. I actually just got off a call right before this with a woman who is super talented and really an expert in what she does. She's very data analytics driven, I told her, listen, if you're a geek or a nerd like me, own it, right? And she's been trying really hard to add in this communication component to what she does. And I told her, listen, just be you. If that's who you are, lean into it, accept it. Don't try to be like anybody else. Just be yourself. And that is the most important thing because people can see right through when you're trying to be someone or something that you're not.
That is very true. As a matter of fact, that's the same feedback on my Wednesday evening live stream that I do every week that I've gotten over and over and over again. Is that people just enjoy who me and Derek are as people, and they enjoy the types of things that we think are silly and funny, whether it's funny or not. But it's just that's what makes the conversations great, and that's why I try to bring good people on here to share their story, especially ones that I'm able to have a great conversation with, because it makes it that much more enjoyable for everybody to watch. I don't
Yeah.
really enjoy listening to myself speak, so I might as well have fun doing it.
And there's the humor, and it wasn't forced.
It wasn't, and I don't even know why I laugh sometimes, but it's the things that I think are funny, I just laugh at it.
That's
Yeah.
good. You got to laugh at yourself. You got to laugh at life because if you don't and take it too seriously, it doesn't work.
So it's true. So I'm sorry that I realized I was listening to the feedback and not listening to you. It's weird that you can't hear that. But anyway, no, I would like you to share with the audience a little bit of the stuff that you're involved with. I know you brought me to Rodney's group, but you also have a regular event that you put on. Would you mind telling everybody about that a little bit?
Yeah, there's several things that I do actually. The very first, the one I'll talk about right now is Drop the Mic Night because we just had the inaugural event last night. And this is a platform that I wanted to create for aspiring speakers. Having worked with nervous speakers and aspiring speakers for the past 10 years, I found that they're constantly asking, is there a safe space for me to get on stage and practice? And I didn't always have opportunities available. I'm not a speaker agent, so I don't help people get booked. I will keep opportunities in mind for any of the people that I'm working with. Like I have one right now that came up for one of my clients, but that's not specifically what I do. So I was kind of at the what do you, the words escaping me. Just I was beholden to whatever was available out in the marketplace at the time, which wasn't always something. And so I said, I want to create an event around this to create an opportunity for these speakers to get on stage, build some confidence, try out their newfound skills. And it's called Drop the Mic Night. And I had this vision and I reached out to someone who had a space here where my office is and said, would you mind hosting this? And she said, I'm in 100%. I love it. Let's do it. And then I reached out to my business bestie, Jen Letter, shout out girl, and said, hey, do you want to do this? She's like, yes, all in. Let's make this happen. And so last night was the very first Drop the Mic night. And we plan to have two more this year and then start a series after that where 10 aspiring speakers got on stage and they had 5 minutes to share their stories around the theme of the event, which was audacity. So kind of think TEDx meets the Moth meets Toastmasters competition for aspiring speakers. And the audience knew that, these are aspiring speakers. Some of them, it was their first time getting on stage. They got up there, they knocked it out of the park. The audience was hooting and hollering and cheering them on. And so this is one of my favorite events that I've been able to launch and do. It was a huge success. We had not one, but two sellouts. Our initial sellout capacity was 80, and we sold that out well in advance of the event. So we said, all right, can we add some standing room only? We added 20 more tickets, and those sold out within 48 hours of adding those tickets. And then we had a waiting list. And so the community's on board, and this is really just a grassroots effort. The speakers pay nothing to be a part of it. They apply, they share how they interpret the theme. They get accepted. We have independent judges that come in and judge. We had awards that they were given. We had thousands of dollars in prizes that were donated by sponsors to be able to award. We had trophies, and the speakers all got complimentary coaching as well from myself and Jen to support them in this journey. And it was just, it really touched my heart last night to watch this finally come to fruition and see this vision happen. And so this will be a series. So for those of you who are listening, who are interested in getting on stages, keep your eyes and ears out. More are coming.
And if you wouldn't mind, Shannon, if you want to share, so if you go over to the right, there should be a private chat, or actually you can share it in the comments if you want to. Just put on there that what the link is if somebody wanted to sign up for that. And I'll also copy and paste that and let it come across the bottom of the screen. But where did this competition take place, and is there another one coming soon?
Yeah, this one took place here at my office in Darien, Connecticut. We've already got requests for New York City. We've got more requests for here in Darien and in the surrounding area. We have requests for out of state as well, in like Charlotte and Cincinnati. And there was one other location, but we had speakers from 5 different states come in and take place in this. So there will be more. We're working on 2 more dates for this year. We're hoping we can get 2 more dates scheduled. And as soon as those applications are available, each one will have its own unique theme. Last night's theme was audacity. Each time we'll put it out, we'll have a call for applications. You can apply, and we'll select 10 speakers. And who knows, you may be the next one on the Drop the Mic stage.
I think that's amazing. Providing people with opportunities to have kind of a judgment-free, well, they are being judged, but they're not being judged. You know what I mean? To go out there and just put themselves out there, speak on a subject, and just do their thing. It's really hard to find those opportunities sometimes, and other than maybe like a Million Cups or something like that, but that's just for them to talk about their business. I think what you're doing is great, and it's very important because outside of Toastmasters or 1 Million Cups or whatever the case may be, just having a goal and going out there and just doing it is the first step, I think, for a lot of people to start moving toward with whatever they want to do and with their speaking venture.
Yep. Yeah, and we even had a professional videographer come in. He runs an event production, a video production company for nonprofits. And he volunteered his time to come in and professionally video the event. So all the speakers will also get their speaker reel free of charge, which, as you know, is incredibly hard to do, and it's expensive. And so that's another great value they get. So it's really a great opportunity, like you said, to get in front of a friendly audience, as well as start to build your speaker profile with all of this. And that's the goal. And if you're too experienced, you don't get in. It's not for experienced speakers. There's plenty of opportunities for experienced speakers. This is for entrepreneurs, small business owners, people who want to become motivational and inspirational speakers, to get out there and put themselves out there and do that in a supported way. The audience was so fantastic last night.
I'm happy for you to have had such a success with your event. And just so everybody knows, if you want to find out more about that, it is, if you're streaming this live, or if you're seeing this on YouTube, or even on the video version of Spotify later on, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that website scrolling across. Please check it out. I've seen it myself. This is not my first time meeting Shannon. There's a lot of good things on there, and she's worth talking to if you ever get the opportunity. But so you were going to do this before. What was that aha moment that made you shift from the way you were doing it before to doing it authentically?
You mean putting on the event?
No. Just what you're doing as a whole for your business, being a public speaking and communication coach.
Yeah, I think the aha moment for me was, like I said, I would get up and I would be in front of people. Before I was a public speaking and communication coach, like I said, sales and marketing leader, sales and marketing exec, left that life and actually was burnt out in communication, even though I love communication. And I became a health coach. I got a certification to become a holistic health coach. And I was doing that for a while. And there was a way to build my business was doing public speaking and presentations and events, because I did a lot of that in my life in sales and marketing. And as I came out and was doing that, I realized, even though I knew inherently it was wrong because I had been trained this and I was teaching public speaking and communication courses at the college level, I was still living in my corporate box because I used to work in very highly regulated industries, insurance and healthcare. And you needed to talk a certain way and present yourself a certain way. And it just became ingrained in me because I had been doing that since I was 19 years old. And I realized that people would come up to me after my presentations and say, "Oh, you're such a fabulous presenter. Thank you. I learned so much." But it wasn't converting. It wasn't leading to connection with those audience members beyond like, "You're a great presenter." And so, like I said, I just kind of had this moment where I realized this isn't me. This is what I was trained to be. This is what I was developed to be. And I need to shed it. And I still have some eye twitchy moments where I'm like, oh, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do in this corporate box, right? Because it was so ingrained in me. But as soon as I realized that I do have a perspective, I do have a voice, I need to share it in my perspective and in my voice, not just as information with an audience, not just educational. I need to tell my story. When I started to open up and do that, first in one-on-ones with clients and then eventually in group settings, I started to realize, wow, by me sharing my story, it's allowing them to connect with me. By me opening up and showing my vulnerabilities and my weaknesses, it's getting them to open up and share their vulnerabilities and their weaknesses. By me saying, I'm not perfect. I didn't do that on purpose. I'm not perfect. I mess up. I'm still figuring this out as I go as well. It led people to go, me too, because people want to be able to see themselves in you. They want to be able to connect with you because at the end of the day, people aren't buying your products and services. They're buying you. They're buying what you stand for. They're buying your perspective. They're buying your stance on things. They're buying your story, right? And that's so important. And you also have to keep in mind, you should not be making your story what you think people want it to be, because people will see that as well. They will see right through that. They see the phoniness. They see the fakeness. It just has to be, this is who I am. Take me or leave me. Love me or hate me. That's up to you. And you have to be okay with that. And so many people are not okay with the love me or hate me, take me or leave me. They want everybody to love them. And that's where we go wrong. When I finally said, I don't need everybody to love me, that's when it all shifted. And I just started being me. And that's a scary thing to do. It's a really scary thing to do. It's still scary to this day. Does it get easier? Yes. It takes time. It takes practice. But once you do that and you realize how that just shifts things, you'll never want to go back. You'll take the haters all day long.
Well, I agree with you. And, I think that's one thing that a lot of people need to understand too when they're starting a business. If they're putting out a fake message, you're gonna start attracting the people that you don't really want to serve anyway.
Yep.
But we've kind of reached the end of the 30 minutes here. But what I like to do at the end of my podcast is to give my guests an opportunity that if you have any promotions going on, or if you want to just to share something with my audience that you think would resonate with them, please, this is your opportunity to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I hope you'll all follow me on social media. I'm not the best at social media. I will admit that's something I'm getting better at. I'd rather talk to people IRL, right, in real life and have a conversation with you. But if you follow me on social media, you'll get to see any of the neat stuff I have coming up. You'll know when the Drop the Mic Night application's open again, so you can jump on that. And then I'm with my girl Jen Lederer that I do a lot with. We are doing a free hot seat coaching this Thursday. It's Wednesday, right? Tomorrow, June 20th at 4 p.m. Eastern time. You can pop over to my LinkedIn and get the link on that, or you can find that on my website, speaksuccess.com. That's speak with a C, SPEAC, success.com/hot seat. And you can sign up for that. It's completely free. And you can jump in and either get in the hot seat yourself or learn from that. And then we also have a Flip the Script program coming up that's going to teach you how to take one story and flip it around for multiple different uses and multiple different type of scenarios and audiences. And that's a 3-hour workshop happening July 9th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern time. And so I'll be happy to share those links out. Again, if you go to my website, speaksuccess.com/flip the script, you can find that one.
Excellent. Well, Shannon, thank you for being a guest here. Everyone, don't forget, it's important to develop your leaders and do leadership. This is my book, Why Organizations Should Develop Their Leaders. It fits in your portfolio in your glove compartment. Don't miss out on it. It's on Amazon.com. Otherwise, please live the message that Shannon has. Always be authentic with yourself, whether you're a speaker or whether you're just doing a regular business, or heck, that should be how you show up anyway. Please do that. Otherwise, thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Victory Leaders Lounge, and I will see you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Victory Leaders Lounge. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you enjoy these episodes, tune in and watch every week. I air a new episode every Wednesday. And if this information resonates with you, make sure you subscribe to my podcast. If you see it on my YouTube channel, subscribe to it there. But please make sure that you're raising awareness for leadership, because all problems can be solved with great leadership. On that note, I have leadership training for new managers. People promote their great employees to supervisors and managers without providing them with extra training. Don't do that to your people. Reach out to me if you want to hear more about that training. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.